Crime and Punishment is one of the greatest books of all time. And I think it's because there's so much richness and depth in the book that can't be covered in a couple-minute video, but in essence, I'm going to tell you my interpretation of it and what I got out of it. So, for those who haven't read the book, it follows a man in 19th century Russia who convinces himself that he is able to kill a pawnbroker who abuses her niece and who sells and scams people. So he convinces himself that he is morally righteous in killing this woman because he believes her to be a detriment to society. And once he kills her, he spends the rest of the novel completely unraveling psychologically because he feels so horrendously guilty about it. He spends the first 90 pages setting up the murder, and then he commits the murder, and then you have like 500 more pages of the aftermath. And what I really liked about it is just the interiority of Raskolnikov as a character. He's a dirt poor, impoverished law student who, you know, is a very complex person psychologically. He's struggling with a lot of neurosis, with a lot of chaos in his mind that he can't externalize. He has this push pull dynamic with the people around him where he's hot and cold. He can have this really intense outburst of emotions and then he completely withdraws and sulks in himself and back into his room. And seeing that character, seeing a kind of character like that, especially for the time, is very unique. He's a very unique kind of character. The morally ambiguous, guilt-ridden, introspective anti-hero. He's reminiscent of, Elliot from Mr. Robot, or Will Graham from Hannibal, or Michael Corleone, Walter White. All of those kinds of characters, even Paul Atreides from Dune, can all come back to Raskolnikov, and even before Raskolnikov in other works. I think what Dostoevsky was trying to argue in Crime and Punishment, he's trying to argue against this idea of the Übermensch, decades before Nietzsche even conceived of the idea. He's trying to argue against the idea that people are above the law, that some people are more righteous than others, that they are above morality and ethics and laws, that they are able to commit these kinds of horrible acts. In Crime and Punishment, Raskolnikov idolizes Napoleon. He really aspires to be like Napoleon. And for some context, in 19th century Russia, Napoleon is seen as like one of the greatest evils of all time. It'd be like if someone nowadays idolized Hitler or Stalin, someone who is so